Matt is going to be talking about interpreting our ancient past using contemporary archaeological science.
So, can you see my screen?
I can. You're good to go.
Let me know. Shout out if they're not moving forward.
I will do.
So the bare bones is the latest in a series of archaeological learning resources from Forestry and Land Scotland. By engaging pupils in outdoor place-based learning and conducting meaningful research within the classroom, a creative archaeological approach can provide real and cohesive links across a range of curricular areas. It can also help to develop critical thinking skills and explore the evidence that our shared past has left in our culture and environment. The series has a popular communication style and bold design and is intended to share and shape values across a wide readership. The Neolithic in Britain and Ireland spans 1500 years, or about 60 generations. Measured in years from around 4000 BC to around 2500 BC, it's an almost unimaginable length of time. But measured in generations, the Neolithic becomes easier to grasp and it becomes possible to place individual lives within the timeline. It also spans a wide range of different regions and landscapes with distinct cultural traditions shaped and shared between them. And in the bare bones, we concentrate on only a few generations living in one particular region and focus upon the distinctive chambered cairns that they built. Around 6,000 years ago, the descendants of the early Neolithic pioneers who first arrived in the area around the North Channel built megalithic monuments known as Clyde cairns and court tombs, respectively. There are just over 100 Clyde cairns on record, with most found in Argyll, Arran and Bute and around the coast of southwest Scotland. And there are over 400 court tombs recorded in Ireland, with most being found in the northern third of the island. The architecture suggests they're used both as a place for the dead, where people place the deceased within the chambers inside the cairn, and as a place for the living, where people could pay their respects within the curved forecourt outside the cairn. We aim to encourage outdoor archaeological learning at cairns close to the classroom, placing the local site within its regional context. And the science of osteoarchaeology is a key element of the learning package, helping teachers to make cross-curricular connections and to discuss social attitudes of death and burial with their learners. I could have shown you lots and lots of lovely pictures of Clyde cairns and court tombs, but you'll just have to look at the booklet to get them. Our archaeological narrative places accessible characters in an imagined storyline, and this allows the experience of visiting the architectural remains today to be linked to learning about the archaeological evidence for the treatment of human remains in the past. A young boy and a girl are travelling with their mother and uncle in a dugout canoe. They carry a wicker basket within which are the bones of their grandmother. They hug the shoreline before turning to cross the deeper waters of the Firth. They have never met their island kinfolk, and they are excited, but also a little afraid. As the group approach the island, the landscape before them changes. The fresh salt air and big open skies of the coast are joined by grey and jagged mountain peaks. Their mother has made this journey before, and she tells them of the settlements, sacred places, forests and mountains that they pass, and of how their parents met at a great feast long ago. Their grandfather was from the mainland and their grandmother was from the island. As the little group climb up the path to the cairn, they pass through ancient woodland full of gnarled and twisted trees hung heavy with lichen and moss. They must reach the cairn before sunset to meet with the tomb keeper and prepare for the ceremony. As they emerge from the woodland and onto the heather moorland, they begin to hear rhythmic chanting and see the light dancing from an open fire. They have reached the stone tomb of their ancestors, a founding family from whom their grandmother had been chosen to travel further and who was now returning home. The tomb keeper opens his arms in welcome. "Come, my children," he cries, "it is time to begin." So what does the tomb keeper have in store for them? What happens next inside the forecourt? Our first learning activity asks learners to write the next chapter or take inspiration from our comic strip and draw the next page. The cairns of the North Channel were built by people and communities with beliefs and traditions that were very different from those that we practice today. And how best to imagine the sights and sounds of these tombs for the dead and the ceremonies that once took place within the forecourts. Were tomb gatherings small family affairs, large communal ceremonies, or both? Were the tombs themselves dark and forbidding, occasional places that lurked at the fringes of daily life, stale, unkempt, and forgotten until they were needed? Or were they familiar places, carefully and reverently tended, celebrated and embraced with a central role in the daily life cycle of the community? Was there a role in society for the tombkeeper, as we imagine here, part master of ceremonies and part front of house? So I love working with artists to imagine life in the past, working out what to include in the image and planning the visual story that it will tell. And in these two examples, the artists have both imagined the tombkeeper and what it must have felt like to enter the chamber, one clean and one dusty. The chamber cairns were used for both ceremonial purposes and the burial of the dead, both as inhumations and cremations, and so it was important to include the science of osteoarchaeology to better understand the archaeological remains. I also love a good cut-out model, and this stylised chambered cairn forms a key part of our second learning activity. This puts learners in the role of osteoarchaeologists examining the bones found within an imagined Neolithic chambered cairn. The 24 bone cards that make up one of 4 different assemblages are placed as a jumble of bones within the model cairn. The aim is to analyse the assemblage and work out how many individuals were buried and what the bones can tell us about their lives and deaths. Along the way, learners will be following a similar process to the osteoarchaeologist, offering an insight into an archaeological career pathway and demonstrating the problem solving and critical thinking skills that lie at the heart of all archaeological work. The 4 side panels of the tomb chamber each reflect different burial traditions used in the Neolithic, all of which would have been evidenced by archaeological excavation at different tombs. But only 2 of the side panels are chosen to build the model. There's push to the back, where earlier burials are just pushed to the back to make room. A mass of disarticulated skeletal remains comprising odd bits of multiple individuals. There's laid out neatly, with long bones and ribs laid out neatly in rows. There's ritual piles, reordered and arranged with skulls to one side, leg bones to the other. And there's a laid out individual of an articulated skeleton. Building the stylized tomb model creates the ideal opportunity to talk about how the 4 burial traditions depicted and described and how the tombs were used. This in turn will help to explain to learners how the bones of the individuals placed inside could be moved around and become mixed up over the course of the tomb's use, resulting in the confusing jumbles of bones that archaeologists discover. Following the steps laid out in the bone recording form you see here, learners analyse their assemblage of inhumed and cremated bone cards for diagnostic clues to indicate the number of individuals present, their age at death, their sex, and whether or not there are any injuries or diseases present. They learn what is excarnation, cremation, and inhumation. They think about what bones usually survive, skulls and long bones, ribs and hips, charred fragments, and they learn what they can tell us about the past and how they could have been placed in the tomb. They think about diagnostic features. Linking the clues in the assemblage will enable them to create individual skeleton columns like this one on the right-hand side. Our amazing bone cards drawn by Vicky Herring illustrate many of the diagnostic features from fused bone through to healed fractures. The number of bones in each skeleton column can be as few as 1 or 2 and as many as 6 or 7. The activity presents learners with the task of unjumbling a selection of cremated and unburnt bones in order to work out approximately how many individuals are in the assemblage. There are 4 different assemblages for learners to excavate, provided as 4 sets of 24 cards each. The activity assemblages get progressively harder, while lots of clues are provided as notes on the assemblage 1 and 2 cards. Assemblage 3 and 4 cards have no clues whatsoever, although the information is also included within the knowledge toolkit for reference. Just like archaeologists, writing down their observations in the bone recording form will help the learners to make sense of the assemblage that they are excavating. And as well as providing the worksheet to record observations, the bone recording form serves as a workflow guide and the knowledge toolkit for sorting the jumble of bones. The activity itself is not easy, but neither is it very hard. And with concentration and understanding, making the connections and working out how many individuals are represented within the assemblage is really satisfying. So the bare bones uses 3 key narrative threads in order to tell the story of the early Neolithic chambered cairns of the North Channel. The structural narrative emphasises the importance of reading the ruins, placing the local site in its wider regional context. The conservation narrative focuses on the archaeological methodology of survey and recording, and on exploring the science of osteoarchaeology. And the archaeological narrative uses creative interpretation and accessible artwork to help us imagine key moments in time. The bare bones places the chambered cairn alongside its builders, its keepers, and the families that used it, an ancient timeline measured in generations. Thank you very much.